The Key to the Garden 1. Mary went out into the main garden and ran around the fountain. The sunshine made the whole place look different. She kept lifting her face and looking up into the bright blue sky, trying to imagine what it would be like to lie down on one of the little snow-white clouds and float about. She went into the next garden and found Ben Weatherstaff working there with 2 other gardeners.
"Springtime is coming,"
he said.
"Can you smell it?"
Mary sniffed and thought she could. "I smell something nice and fresh and damp," she said.
"That's the rich earth,"
he answered, digging away.
"In the flower gardens out there, you will see green spikes sticking out of the earth after a bit."
"What will they be?" asked Mary.
"Crocuses, snowdrops, and daffodils,"
said Weatherstaff.
"You will have to wait for them. They will slowly poke up, push out, and uncurl one leaf after another. You should watch them."
"I am going to," answered Mary. Very soon she heard the soft rustling of wings and knew at once that the robin had come. He was very lively. He hopped about close to her feet, put his head on one side, and looked at her slyly. "Do you think he remembers me?" she asked Ben Weatherstaff.
"Remembers you?"
said Weatherstaff.
"He even knows every cabbage stump in the gardens."
"Are plants growing in the dark in that old garden where the robin lives?" Mary inquired.
"What old garden?"
grunted Weatherstaff. "The one where the old rose trees are." She could not help asking because she really wanted to know. "Are there ever any roses?"
"Ask him,"
said Ben Weatherstaff, hunching his shoulders towards the robin.
"He's the only one who knows. No one else has been inside that garden for 10 years.
10 years was a long time, Mary thought. She had been born 10 years ago. She walked away, thinking. She went to walk outside the long, ivy-covered wall over which she could see the treetops. Suddenly, she heard a chirp and a twitter. When she looked at the bare flower bed, on her left there, the robin was hopping about and pretending to peck things out of the earth. "You do remember me," she cried out. "You do! You're prettier than anything else in the world." She chirped and talked and coaxed, and he hopped and twittered. It was as if he were talking. His red waistcoat was like satin, and he puffed his tiny breast out and was so fine, grand, and pretty. As the robin hopped about under the tall shrubs, she saw him hop over a small pile of freshly turned up earth. He stopped on it to look for a worm. The earth had been turned up because a dog had been trying to dig up a mole. He had scratched quite a deep hole. Mary looked at it, not really knowing why the hole was there. As she looked, she saw something almost buried in the newly turned soil. It was something like a ring of rusty iron. When the robin flew up into a tree nearby, she put out her hand and picked the ring up. It was more than a ring, however. It was an old key which looked as if it had been buried a long time. Mary stood up and looked at it as it hung from her finger. "Perhaps it has been buried for 10 years, she said in a whisper. "Perhaps it is the key to the old garden."